Summer Scholars, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Miss Starosta and welcome to my digital classroom. Today we're going to be doing a close reading of the text, The Upside Down Boy. For the lesson, we'll need a few materials, so you're going to go on a scavenger hunt for a paper, a pencil, and if you can, something that can take a picture, just in case you need to take a picture so you can follow directions after we're done the lesson. I'll see you back in a few seconds with those materials. Phew, I have my materials. I hope you're back and ready with your materials too. Let's get our bodies ready to learn. So let's sit up tall and get our listening ears ready. As I said earlier, we're going to be reading this story called The Upside Down Boy by Juan Felipe Herrera. During the lesson, we'll use these different materials. You might notice that there's not a book listed as a material. That's okay. I'm going to put the book on the screen so that we can all read and close read together. Today's strategy is called close reading. What might be close reading? Have I heard my teacher say that before? Let's check it out because I need a refresher. Close reading. That doesn't mean that we need to get really close up or get our glasses on so that we can read or get out a magnifying glass. Those things won't help us. Instead, what we need to do is reread and set a purpose for what we are reading. As you can see, I underline the words set a purpose. That's really important. So let's try this out in a smaller step. Before we're reading, we're going to try it with a picture. So we're going to closely look at this picture. We need to set a purpose. Well, right now I'm just kind of looking at it. All right, let's set a purpose. Okay, I want you to try to find the pencil in this picture. Did you notice it this time? And at first you didn't notice it? Yeah, that's the same for me. I didn't actually have to physically get any closer to the screen to see the pencil. I just had to set a purpose for what I was doing while I was looking at the picture. This is the same thing we'll be doing as we read today. We won't have to get close to the story or close to the screen. We'll have to set a purpose each time we read a page to look for something as we read. So there's the pencil if you weren't able to find it. What are we going to be close reading for? Just like in the picture I asked you to look for the pencil, what are we going to be looking for as we read? We are looking for examples of figurative language. I want you to say that after me. Figurative language. Yeah, what does that mean? That's a big phrase. I know you're going to be an expert by the end of this lesson about figurative language. Figurative language. Figurative language includes figures of speech that compare, exaggerate, or mean something different from what is expected. Whew, that was kind of a lot. I don't feel like I'm an expert yet, so let's break that down a little bit more. Here's an example of figurative language. I run as fast as a cheetah. Let's see what that would look like if I really ran as fast as a cheetah. All right, I'm going to race that cheetah in the picture. So everybody get in their running stance just like me down to the bottom. All right, who do you think is going to get to the finish line first? Because I said I'm as fast as a cheetah. But really, I'm not as fast as a cheetah. I'm just trying to prove the point that I'm fast, and I'm comparing myself to the cheetah. In reality, I'm not as fast as a cheetah. I have to keep training. But this figurative language gave you something to picture in your head. That's why authors use figurative language, to give you something to picture how that might feel or how it might look. Remember, figurative language is used for, let's see what 3 things figurative language could be used for. 1, comparing. 2, exaggerating. I was exaggerating. I'm not as fast as a cheetah. And 3, meaning something different than expected. Figurative language can do some of these at the same time. So I was meaning something different than what you might have expected. While we are close to reading for figurative language, we are looking to identify, which means to look for, and then understand. So we'll use our brains to figure out what the figurative language really means rather than what's written on the page. Throughout the lesson, we will keep track of the figurative language by creating a chart. Let's get pumped up about creating a chart. We'll need our materials for this section to get everything ready for when we start to read. Get that piece of paper and follow directions with me on the screen. Do you have your paper ready? Okay, have your pencil close by. We don't need it quite yet. Then I want you to draw a line down the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't matter which way your paper is folded. But the line goes down the middle so that we can divide it into two pieces. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more time. Hold your paper up when you're ready. Nice job. I see some people are ready. Then I want you to write these two words. The first one is phrase. If you need help spelling it, it's right on the screen 2 times. And then on the other side, I want you to write the word meaning. So one side should say phrase, and the other side should say meaning. You'll know what this is for in just a few moments. Take a little bit more time, and then we're going to move on. All right, I want you to set that to the side. We'll need it in a few minutes. Since we'll be doing a close reading today, I thought it might be a good idea to review and give you the gist of the story, which is what we did last time, just in case you weren't able to make it or if you just forgot what happened in the story. The name of our text is called The Upside Down Boy. As you can see in the picture, he appears to be floating. However, he cannot fly. It's actually just an expression of figurative language that the author was trying to tell us about how he was feeling. He's not feeling so great in the beginning of the story, as you can see by his frown. He's starting in a new area at a new school. That can be overwhelming. On top of it, he's nervous because he doesn't speak English and he knows that he might be confused at his new school because a lot of his peers will speak English. That could be really overwhelming. But then he starts to feel a little bit better when his teacher is challenging him with new skills. So he does have a talent. Even though he can't fly, he can sing. He can also read and write, and he starts to feel more proud. By the end of the text, he's feeling really proud of a poem that he shares with his family and friends with the support from his family. Now it's time to start reading the story. As we listen to this next page, I want you to think and listen for examples of figurative language.
Don't worry, Chico, Papi says as he walks me to school. Everything changes. A new place has new leaves on the trees and blows fresh air into your body. I pinch my ear. Am I really here? Maybe the street lamp is really a golden cornstalk with a dusty gray coat. People speed by alone in their fancy melting cars. In the valleys, campesinos sang, "Buenos dias, Juanito." I make a clown face, half funny, half scared. I don't speak English, I say to Papi. Will my tongue turn into a rock?
Now that we've read one page, I want you to remind yourself to dig a little deeper for the figurative language. Remember, you can ask yourself after you hear a phrase, is the author trying to give me hints at something that's a little bit different, like comparing or exaggerating, or sharing a different meaning? Look at this page to dig for 2 examples of figurative language. I promise we'll go over it in a little bit. If you find a phrase that sounds like figurative language, I want you to write it down. Can you do this as well? Because you're going to have to think about the answer to this question. Did any of those phrases sound like figurative language? Was the author using a phrase that sounded different than the actual meaning, like comparing, exaggerating, or saying something that meant something different? I'm going to give you some examples. If your example was the same as mine, I want you to give yourself a check. Nice job that you were able to identify some figurative language. If you weren't able to identify figurative language, don't worry. I'm going to give you an example. You can write down the phrase or write down the meaning so that you understand what the author was meaning during that phrase. The phrase that I noticed first was fancy melting cars. I'm trying to think about what something melting looks like so I might be able to understand the meaning behind that. I think this could mean that the cars are moving quickly and they appear to be melting into the distance. The author used the figurative language here to help us picture what this might look like. As we listen to this page, I want us to look for one example of figurative language.
I slow step into school. My burrito de papas, my potato burrito in a brown bag. Empty playground, fences locked, one cloud up high. No one in the halls. Open a door with a blue number 27. ¿Dónde estoy? Where am I? My question in Spanish fades as the thick door slams behind me. Mrs. Sampson, the teacher, shows me my desk. Kids laugh when I poke my nose into my lunch bag. The hard round clock above my head clicks and aims its strange arrows at me.
The phrase I identified as figurative language on this page was clicks and aims its straight arrows at me. This is referring to the clock. What might it feel like if you were staring at the clock and it felt like it was ticking and aiming those ticks right at you? What do you think that might mean? What does it feel or look like? I said I think this means that he feels like even the clock is looking at him. He seems to notice every little thing because of his nerves. Have you ever felt so nervous that you felt like everybody was staring at you? He's feeling pretty nervous on his first day. I want to keep moving with the lesson, and the next time I want you to try to identify the meaning of the figurative language without my help. As we listen to the next portion of the text, I want you to look for this phrase. Will my voice reach the ceiling? Weave through it like grapevines. That might not make sense out of context, but as you hear it in the text, I want you to think about what the meaning is. You're going to be in charge of figuring out what the meaning is for this next one.
On the chalkboard, I see a row of alphabet letters and addition numbers. If I learn them, will they grow like seeds? If I learn the English words, will my voice reach the ceiling, weave through it like grapevines? We are finger painting. I make wild suns with my open hands. Crazy tomato cars and cucumber sombreros. I write my name with 7 chilies. What is that? Mrs. Sampson asks. My tongue is a rock. The school bell rings and shakes me. I run and grab my lunch bag and sit on the green steel bench. In a few fast minutes, I finish my potato burrito. But everyone plays, and I am alone.
Take some time now to write down what you think the meaning of this phrase is. Like I said earlier, when I'm not sure what the figurative language means, I try to picture it and to see what that might mean. So I pictured the part that says, weave through it like grapevines. When I pictured that, I picture something growing. So I think this might mean that his voice can't actually weave to the ceiling, but the author is letting us know how our character is hoping he will grow to learn more words. I know the character is hopeful, and it's starting to change his personality in the story. This is the next phrase that we're going to think about what it might mean. We'll listen to the text and then we'll guess about the meaning. So I'll read it to you so you can look for it and listen for it as we read. Because remember, when we're close reading, we're setting a purpose, just like we were looking for that pencil. So look for the understanding of the meaning of my feet float through the clouds when all I want to do is touch the earth.
The high bell roars again. This time, everyone eats their sandwiches while I play in the breezy baseball diamond by myself. Is this recess? I ask again. Jump up, everyone sits. When I sit, all the kids swing through the air. My feet float through the clouds when all I want is to touch the earth. I am the upside-down boy.
Take some time now to write down what you think the meaning of this phrase is. Raise your hand if you think you have an idea of what this phrase might mean. Nice! Okay, a couple people feel confident about what it means. I think that it means he isn't really floating. He feels lost and confused, which gives him the feeling that everything is upside down. Have you ever felt kind of out of place and it kind of makes you feel like you're floating through the room? Yeah, I felt a little nervous on my first day of school as a teacher. Kind of made me feel like things were up in the air and I was kind of floating through the day because I was nervous and thinking about a lot. But as I started to get better at teaching, I didn't feel like I was floating anymore. My feet were set on the ground and I knew what I was doing. The character will start to feel like this later on in the story. Let's keep reading to find out different figurative language phrases that express how he's feeling. Remember in the beginning of the lesson when I said you were going to be an expert at figurative language by the end? Well, experts need to be able to identify and understand what the figurative language means. So for this reading, I want you to try to find what phrase I might pick out as figurative language.
Mrs. Sampson invites me to the front of the class. Sing, Juanito. Sing a song we have been practicing. I pop up shaking. I am alone facing the class. Ready to sing? Mrs. Sampson asks me. I am frozen. Then a deep breath fills me. 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice, I sing. My eyes open as big as the ceiling, and my hands spread out as if catching raindrops from the sky. You have a very beautiful voice, Juanito, Mrs. Sampson says. What is beautiful? I ask Amanda after school.
Take some time now to write down the phrase you think might be figurative language. The phrase that I chose was, my eyes open as big as the ceiling and my hands spread out as if catching raindrops from the sky. Take a few seconds now and think about what that might mean. Try to do it. Open your eyes really wide. Reach your hands out to the sky. Nice job, readers. I think we're getting better at this each time we practice. Let me tell you what I think this phrase meant. I think he is feeling confident all of a sudden. His eyes are open and his hands are stretched out. When we're feeling shy, our bodies kind of sink in. But when we're proud and confident, we stand up tall. I want everybody to stand up or sit up tall because you should feel proud and confident about your abilities to understand figurative language. Let's keep going. All right, readers, I know you're getting the hang of this. So for this one, I want you to find and identify the figurative language and write down the meaning on your chart. We'll check back in after reading and after writing on your chart. Good luck.
After a week of reading a new poem aloud to us every day, Mrs. Sampson says, "Write a poem," as she plays symphony music on the old red phonograph. I think of Mama. Squeeze my pencil. Pour letters from the shiny tip like a skinny river. The waves tumble onto the page. L's curl at the bottom. F's tip their hats from their heads. M's are sea waves. They crash over my table. Juanito's poem. Papi Felipe with a mustache of words. Mama Lucha with strawberries in her hair. I see magic salsa in my house and everywhere.
Take some time now to write down the phrase you think might be figurative language. Last thing that we're going to put on our chart, so I want to make sure we get this right. The phrase that I chose was pour letters from the shiny tip like a skinny river. This is talking about the way that he's writing his poem and how it's starting to flow for him. So the meaning, I like to picture it as if it was words flowing like a river onto a page, and that helped me understand the meaning. The meaning was just like a river, his words are starting to flow. This means he is able to easily write his poem. He's gained a lot of confidence over the course of the story. As he's gotten stronger, he was able to have a little bit more confidence and write with ease. And he's even excited to share his poem with his family and friends at the end of the text. It's activity time. We've spent a lot of time in this lesson learning how to identify and understand figurative language. Now it's time to test our knowledge and have a little bit of fun. For this activity, we are going to select one of the phrases from our chart. Then, we will illustrate what the words are saying. So remember how figurative language, it's not always saying what it means in real life. It's using different ways to explain or express how our characters are feeling. Finally, we'll illustrate what the words actually mean. Let me show you an example. I chose the phrase, "Will my tongue turn into a rock?" So I've decided to draw mine kind of like a comic. So I put the phrase at the top so I wouldn't forget what the phrase was. Then I drew a little picture and I turned my tongue into a rock. So it's kind of silly, but it also helps me understand what that might feel like if my tongue was a rock. Then in the meaning side of my comic, I decided to put that it means that I'm a little nervous and I'm worried that I won't be able to speak. So now, if I looked at this comic, it would help me understand what the figurative language is actually trying to express. I want you to take a little time and prepare your comic strip. Divide it just like I did with 2 sides of the paper, and you can even write phrase and meaning at the top just like our chart. If you have more space on the back of your page or at the bottom of your chart, you can use that to draw as well. Get creative with your picture and make sure you are expressing what the figurative language actually means. What? Lesson's over already? Wow, time really flies when you're learning a lot and practicing reading skills. I hope you had as much fun as I did learning about figurative language and how to identify and understand it. We need to keep practicing this skill throughout the summer, so don't forget to read, read, read. I'll see you next time, and keep reading.